Welcome back. This is Next Stop Mississippi on MPB Think Radio. I'm Mary Margaret Miller of MississippiToday.org, here with Visit Mississippi's Kamel King. If you're just joining us, before the break, we spoke with Nacheri Cooper. She's the Marketing and Communications Manager with Grammy Museum Mississippi about their current exhibit all about Motown legends, particularly the Supremes, and Mary Wilson, a native of Greenville, a special collection of her pieces, her gowns, her photographs, her memorabilia, and lots of cool programming to go along with that.
Exactly.
Well, speaking of that era of music, we're joined on the phones by Dr. Alphonso Sanders. He is here to tell us about Greenwood Little Theater's production of Dreamgirls. Welcome.
Oh, yeah, it's a pleasure.
Well, it's great to have you here today to tell us a little bit more about your role as director of Greenwood Little Theater's production of Dreamgirls. It's I believe the debut is tonight.
Well, we did last night. Thursday was the 1st, March 1st. So we'll be running it 2 more nights, Friday and Saturday night, and then Sunday will be a matinee, 2 o'clock.
Well, Dr. Sanders, I mean, you're a professor of music at Mississippi Valley State. You're the Fine Arts Chair and the director of the B.B. King Studio. So how did you even have time for Dreamgirls? And I'm sure it became a big undertaking when you did, because these type of productions, are really big.
Yeah, at one point I thought I might have overstepped my limitations.
Right.
And then of course it kind of, like any other thing I do in the arts, it's just a thread that runs through my music and other things that I take on. And so I did have to try to peel back some other things for a minute, but it's been worth it. It's been, the challenge has been worth it. And of course, I don't know if you knew about my the task of taking the project, came through the Greenwood Little Theater, and so they have not, been having much success with African American input in shows, and so I was asked by Cam Abel, if I would consider that, because he and Richard Beatty were in the conversation, and then and it went from there. So I chose Dreamgirls because it had a lot of that oomph to it, and it seemed to have been one of those things that will never die, and the history of it is so significant, to the African American culture, especially when we start looking at music and the world, and it's and then again the roots from Mississippi too, and I heard you're gonna have Mary on air too, and that's another plus for Mississippi right there.
Yes, indeed.
That's right. And Mary is not going to be able to join us today. We're disappointed, but she's under the weather, and we want to make sure she's 100% healthy for her visit here next week. So, but that's all right. We'll still celebrate her. So, Dr. Sanders, I'm glad you're telling us about kind of how you found your way to this production. The Greenwood Little Theater has a long history there. It was founded in the 50s, and I like to hear about this very conscious effort to bring in more African-American productions and players with that. So, as Kamel said, we know you as a horn player, as a virtuoso, touring artist, and, of course, an academic. Is this your first foray into production, a production like this?
Oh, yes. Yeah, the first and the last.
Oh, now.
Yeah, so, directing is a job, and then Dreamgirls puts another kind of an insurmountable plug there. I don't know. Maybe I'm not even saying it right, but man, to take on a task like this is really challenging. Has been, but it's been so much fun until all those things have faded to the background. Now we're in it, and it's really fun.
Yeah, when the curtain goes up, everything gets all right.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Now, was it challenging to find the fit for every character?
Well, I tell you what. Believe it or not, I'm sitting here with Dawn Whitfield, who was also asked to be a part of, the development of it. And so she did most of, helping me with most of the casting and so forth. She just has in choreography and so forth. So you may want to ask her about that part, because all I did was agree that I would try to be a leader, and then that, of course, played into its thing,
Now, Dr. Sanders, tell us about the plot of Dreamgirls for our listeners who maybe aren't familiar.
Yeah. It's based on the life of the Supremes. Motown's, musical industry was what most blacks had. The concept of the Motown music industry is what blacks went through to become stars. And there were places like, like the whole thing about Cadillac Records and people getting involved, getting involved with producing records and looking for talent. And most of the time, the talent was abused or misused as they made the money. And Dreamgirls is an act that depicts what was going on in the 60s when talent like the Supremes were being crafted while the pop industry was on the rise and soul music was on the decline because money was changing. And so it created a problem for black artists because white artists were taking those songs and crossing them over into a pop genre. And so blacks had to start trying to deal with that problem. And even if you look at groups like, we want to look at groups like the Commodores, they had a lead singer by the name of Lionel Richie, and Lionel Richie crossed over into the kind of the pop world and left that group alone, and the group remained to be successful in a way, but Lionel Richie certainly became far more successful. And so that's just one example out of many. And there's a line in the play that one of the producer guys that he's dealing with, and he's just saying that that if I can make a hit, then I can also make a flop. So they would kill records in order to make one record rise. And then there's another endearing line in there where the actor has to portray the idea that if we're going to make it, the only way to make it is to follow the money. And so they started making those changes. So F is being the main character. Her frustration is that she can sing. They want Dina to be the front girl because she kind of looks better in a way, and she can fit that bill, and she also has a lighter voice. Effie is a more dynamic voice that they've discovered. And as time has gone on, Effie loses her role as a lead singer. And then, of course, she regains the friendship and everything after she goes through a series of misfortunes in her life. And then, on top of that, of course, she gets pregnant by one of the producer guys, which played, his character is Curtis in the movie, I believe.
Well, a real human story wrapped around, what a national music phenomenon.
And I tell you, even the story of Dreamgirls rolls into a bigger story of Motown, and Motown being really an iconic story for indie music labels. Look at the advent of now everybody wants to be an independent music label, and that's the new wave, and going against the bigger labels in the system. But think of the 60s when there was no such thing as stepping away from the big three, and stepping away from Hollywood or stepping away from New York, and based out of Detroit. These were the first iconic indie music owners, and Berry Gordy set a trailblaze for people all over the world.
Right, and that's it. And it was a monumental task back then for people like Berry Gordy, but he did have more than a payphone. Most of those artists didn't own any way to even publicize themselves, And but we do have artists, and I'll bring this up. Bobby Rush made a living, traveling a circuit, going from show to show. And in his later life, he's just now getting some of the accolades that go with being an artist, such as himself,
Yeah.
Sure.
And B.B. King did that until he found, a way to to make an association or to organize his music to the point that he could make money doing it.
Well,
and the people behind the scenes, they crafted it out. I mean, it would be like all of us, in a sense, trying to start our own bank. It's almost ridiculous, but it would be nice if we all had control over everything that we did, but it's kind of impossible. So people with money know how to make that happen.
Well, Dr. Sanders, Dr. Alphonso Sanders, I always learn something when I talk to you, so I appreciate your time today. Now, you are the director of Dreamgirls, which is in production now at the Greenwood Little Theater. Showings tonight, Friday, tomorrow, Saturday at 7 p.m., and Sunday at 2 p.m. We appreciate your time today.
Oh, well, look, thank you for having me. It's a plus, and I hope people are listening to your show over and over and over and over again, because it's such a wonderful place for information.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, and I also want to say, that apart from everything that's gone on, I could not have done this without Mississippi Valley State University and the students here.
Excellent.
Because they are the the centerpiece of the act.
Sure, the heartbeat, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it is time for us to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll speak with Dr. Julia Mordakova. She's the Chair of Arts and Music at the Mississippi University for Women about their current Music by Women Festival. So don't go far. This is Next Stop Mississippi on MPB Think Radio.